Every year, farmers across this country throw away thousands of dollars on nursery trees they didn't need to buy. Why? Because nobody showed them the one propagation trick that turns a single branch off your best producing tree into a brand new tree, for free, in about 8 weeks. And I'm not talking about the old method you probably already tried and failed at. I'm talking about something different. Something almost nobody in the US is doing yet. Stick with me, because by the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why your last air layer rotted, died, or just never rooted, and how to make sure that never happens again. Here's what's actually at stake. If you've got one exceptional tree on your property, one that produces bigger fruit, sweeter fruit, or just outperforms everything else you've got, that tree is sitting on a gold mine. Every branch on it is a potential clone. Same genetics, same fruit, same quality, and you don't pay a nursery a dime for it. But most people who try to capture that gold mine mess it up. And today, I'm going to show you the exact method that fixes the biggest failure point in the whole process. Before we get into it, if this is useful to you, hit that like button and subscribe, because I'm going to be dropping more of these hands-on techniques, and you don't want to miss them. Now let's get into why your air layers keep failing. Here's the mistake almost nobody talks about. Traditional air layering works by cutting a ring around a branch and stripping the bark so the tree can't move sugars down past that point. That builds up growth hormones right above the cut, and that's supposed to trigger roots. Sounds simple, right? Except on a lot of trees, especially the tougher, woodier varieties, that simple ring cut just doesn't generate enough surface area for roots to actually form. You wait weeks, you check the bag, and there's nothing. Maybe a little callus, no roots. And most farmers just assume the tree doesn't air layer well, pack it in, and go buy a nursery tree instead. That's another $60, $70, sometimes over $100 a tree for genetics that might not even match what's already thriving on your own land. But here's the thing. That's not the tree's fault. That's not bad luck, and it's not a difficult variety like everyone assumes. That's a surface area problem, plain and simple. And once you understand that, the fix becomes obvious. This is where the STAR method comes in, and once you see it, you're going to wonder why nobody taught you this years ago. Instead of one clean ring around the branch, you're going to create multiple strips of bark and bend them outward and upward, like the points of a star. Why does that matter? Because now you've got way more exposed cambium surface, way more area for roots to actually initiate, and a structure that naturally channels new growth right into your rooting medium. This one shape change is the difference between a branch that sits there doing nothing for 2 months and a branch that's bursting with white roots in under 60 days, even on trees that have given you nothing but failed air layers in the past. But before you touch a knife, we need to build the tool that makes this whole thing possible, and it costs you basically nothing. Grab an empty plastic bottle, about a liter, a quarter gallon, whatever you've got sitting in the recycling. This bottle is about to become your rooting chamber, and here's why that matters more than you think. A rooting chamber needs to do 3 things at once: hold moisture in, let excess water drain out, and stay sealed enough that pests and dry air don't wreck your progress. Most homemade setups fail at one of those 3. This one doesn't, and I'll show you exactly how to build it. Mark a line about 4 inches up from the bottom of the bottle, then run a line straight down from the center of the cap to that mark. That's your cut line. Take a knife and slowly work your way along it, then cut straight down through the harder plastic near the cap, using pliers or a small saw to finish that tough section if you need to. Now here's the part people rush and shouldn't. The cap needs a hole cut into it, roughly the same thickness as the branch you're working with, plus a slit cut into the side so you can open it and slide it around the branch without breaking the whole cap. This is what keeps your substrate from spilling out the bottom, and it's also your built-in drainage. Don't skip it, and don't make the hole sloppy loose or you'll be fighting moisture loss the entire time this thing is rooting. Now cut about an inch off the very bottom of that same bottle. Slice it to the center and widen that opening to match your branch thickness. That's your lid, the piece that closes everything up once the substrate's packed in. Once you've got both pieces ready, set them aside because now we're heading to the actual tree. And this next part is where most people either set themselves up for a thick, healthy root mass or accidentally sabotage the whole layer before it even starts. Pick your branch. You want something healthy, decent thickness, not brand new growth, not old dead wood. Make your first cut a full ring around the branch, deep enough to hit the wood underneath. This part's non-negotiable. If you don't cut all the way through the bark into the wood, sap keeps moving past your cut and the whole hormone buildup we talked about earlier never happens. Now, instead of stopping there like the old method tells you to, you're going to make several vertical cuts down from that ring, roughly 2 inches long, spaced around the branch. This is the moment the star method actually starts to take shape, literally. Now comes the part that separates people who get a mess of dead bark from people who get a thick web of new roots. Slowly, carefully, start lifting each strip of bark up and away from the wood using your knife. Take your time here. If one strip breaks off completely, don't panic, it happens, and the rest will still do the job. Once every strip is free, gently bend them all outward and upward until they start to fan out like the points of a star. They don't need to be perfectly symmetrical. What matters is that they're open, arched, and exposed. Secure them in that position with a zip tie snug enough to hold the shape without crushing anything. Here's the step almost everyone underestimates, and it's the single most important 30 seconds in this entire process. Just below that zip tie, in the strip of bark you left bare, you need to scrape away every bit of cambium down to clean wood. Not most of it, all of it. Miss a patch and the tree will bridge that gap, sap will keep flowing past your cut, and your hormone buildup collapses before it even gets started. This is the difference between a rooted air layer and a wasted branch, and it takes about 30 seconds if you do it right and can cost you the entire project if you rush it. Once that's done, slide your prepared bottle around the branch using the slit you cut earlier. Work it into position until the entire star-shaped area is sitting inside the container, and start packing in your substrate. Doesn't need to be anything fancy. A well-draining mix works fine. Universal potting substrate works fine too. What actually matters is moisture retention balanced with drainage, because that hole in the cap is there for a reason. It lets excess water escape so you're not drowning your new roots before they even form. Pack the substrate up almost to the top, snap that lid piece on, and give it a thorough watering right away. That first watering matters. You want that entire substrate soaked through from day one. Now here's where a lot of people get impatient and either overwater or worse, forget about it completely. Don't follow a calendar. Follow the substrate. When it starts drying out, water it again. Early spring, right as the tree wakes up, is typically the best window for this. But depending on where you farm and your climate, this can work at other points in the year too. What you're doing now is just maintaining steady, consistent moisture while the tree does the actual work inside that bottle. Work you can't see yet, but it's happening. This is usually where people talk themselves out of the whole project. Nothing visible is happening on the outside, so they assume nothing is happening at all. They stop checking, they forget to water, and 3 weeks in, they've unknowingly let the whole thing dry out and die. Don't be that farmer. This is the waiting game every successful propagator has to learn to sit through. And it's exactly why most people never even attempt this a second time after their first failure. But if you stay consistent here, what happens next is going to make all of it worth it. And here's where the payoff comes in, because this is the part that made me switch to the star method permanently. Around 8 weeks in, take a look through that clear bottle. You are going to see roots. Not a few thin white threads struggling to survive, a genuinely dense root system pushing against the walls of that container, sometimes visible within the first couple weeks, already starting to show. On branches that would have completely failed under the old single ring method, this shape change alone is producing root systems thick enough to support an entirely new tree. Once that root mass fills the container, it's time to separate it from the parent tree. Cut just below the bottom of your rooting chamber and get that new root ball into a pot with quality soil right away. Water it in well, then give it about a week somewhere with partial shade or indirect light so it can adjust before facing full sun. After that week, it's ready for its permanent spot, and you've just created a brand new, full genetic match fruit tree without spending $1 at a nursery. If this changed the way you think about propagating your best trees, do me a favor and drop a comment telling me where you're farming from and which tree on your property you're going to try this on first. I read every single one of these and I want to see your results. Share this with anyone in your circle who's still buying trees they could be cloning for free. And if you want more real, hands-on techniques like this one, make sure you're subscribed because there's a lot more coming. Get out there, try it on that one tree you've been meaning to clone for years, and I'll see you in the next video.